Hey, Sound Engraver here. Today we're going to learn how to construct a melody using sound files. So for this demonstration, I have two sound files over here. The first sound file is a snare. This is an inharmonic sound with inharmonic sound properties. So while there are frequencies, there's no real distinct frequency or pitch. So let's have a listen here. And the second one, called Magic, is from, I believe, a magical box, which is a title of an instrument of Logic Pros. And it does have a clear, distinct sound. To get these sound files on SuperCollider, you can do one of two things. You can simply drag the file from a desktop or a folder and put it over there. Or you can select it and copy it and paste it. Let's go ahead and evaluate our files using the buffer UGen and playing them. All right, now that that's settled, we can go ahead and evaluate these synth defs over here. Now, these synth defs are the same. They just have different names. One is for our snare, and one is for our magic tone. And just keep in mind, these are stereo files, and so you will always want the number to be 2 for the number of channels for your play buff UGen. If they were mono files, you would want 1. Now, before we move on to the code and our examples, I wanted to take a quick second and talk about the UGen scale and how you can find different scales and modes from all different regions of the world. Just use the directory, evaluate it, and you will have an extensive list of all these scales. I'm going to go ahead and use our melodic minor. And right next to scale, just put melodic minor over here, evaluate it, and SuperCollider will output the information as far as degrees and tuning. And if you only want degrees, you can simply just add degrees like this. And you will have your array of degree values, and these values are in semitones. So starting with my snare, you can see I have some rhythmic variety here in my dur key. And we will start with the rate having the value of 1. And that is the original speed and thus the original pitch of that snare. If you were to double the value, you would double the speed, and therefore you would bring that pitch up 1 octave. And if you were to have the value, you would bring it down 1 octave. So you can see that with changing values for our rate key, we can change the pitch. But to be intuitive, we want to think of things in semitones and degrees. And to just simply put a PC here with our values for our natural minor scale degrees, it's not interpreted. SuperCollider does not interpret it this way. Rather, it sounds like this. In fact, I think value 0 is disregarded altogether. So to do this, to change these values in a way where they are interpreted as semitones or degree values, we simply add the method MIDI.ratio. And now you should be able to hear some kind of scale. And there's your scale. So moving on, we can, with our rate key, use a pattern function, pfuncn, and use a familiar code, selecting a minor, in this case a natural minor scale, the degrees of that scale, and choosing those degrees at random using our addition, and that is our midiratio method. So while the snare has inharmonic properties, and while there isn't really much frequency as you would hear with an instrument that has pitch, you can definitely hear some of those discrepancies within those degrees, even when they are selected at random or running in sequence. Now, using the same methods for our magic box, we'll go ahead and start with our rate being 1. And now we will add pseq for our natural minor scale. And to add some variety, we'll start with a P chef. If you wanted some repetition with that sequence, or if you wanted to have it be a little more random, pxrand is a good choice. And lastly, using our rate key for that familiar syntax here, simply adding the MIDI ratio for our sound file. And there you have it. So it's treated in the same way as virtual instruments in Logic or any other digital audio workstation. The only addition is MIDI ratio, and that will have SuperCollider interpret values in semitones and degrees, of course, which we all love as composers and as musicians. So thank you for watching. I hope it's inspired you to use some sound files, even sound files that aren't strictly pitch, for pitch or melodic purposes, as well as beautiful instruments like this magical box here. So as always, be on the lookout for sound experimentation with SuperCollider or Logic Pro, or a little bit of both, every Thursday. And always, I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much for watching.